Today is a multi-part holiday. Not only is it Valentine's Day, which you almost certainly know about, but you might not know that it's also a day without immigrants, which is a periodic activist organizing movement to remind people of the contributions, both in terms of labor as well as spending power that immigrants make in America. So Valentine's Day has been strategically selected as it's a day where an abundance of consumer spending occurs through labor that is often carried out by immigrants. A lot of money is spent specifically on this day, so it really casts a spotlight on that. And I wanted to give you some of the perspectives on this, including from people who are helping to organize. So first we have comments from Carlos Eduardo Espina, who is an organizer and also a very popular TikToker who's been encouraging people to participate in this and is, as we speak right now, at one of these protests. Says the idea is a day without immigrants, which means immigrants or anyone who supports the immigrant community doesn't go to work, doesn't spend, and doesn't send their children to school to support and raise awareness that immigrants are here, and we're very upset with the situation, the promises that aren't being kept. So I can tell you there are multiple protests here in LA. Also, 2,600 businesses across the US have pledged to close for the day in solidarity with the protest. So really fast, we're always put in kind of a difficult situation with these sorts of things because obviously we do want to show solidarity for the community, but we also want to cover the event. So we're doing that, have whatever perspective on that choice that you want. But Francesca, what do you make of this?
You mean because we're working?
I mean, we are technically working.
Ooh.
We're trying to make sure that people know about this. We've had to do that before sometimes. It's difficult.
I think the media gets a pass. If we were in something else, I would say it'd be different. I think it's excellent. We need this. I think that especially given the fact that we are a year into the Biden administration, over a year, and the promises around immigration have not come to fruition. And all those promises are rolling back Trump era draconian laws that do things like the Remain in Mexico laws that are incredibly harsh and are causing, I mean, the immigrants who are in Mexico or at the Mexico-Guatemalan border are facing incredible violence and precarity, to say nothing of those who are waiting on the Mexico side of the US-Mexican border. To things like Title 42, again, a Trump era regulation that says because of the pandemic, we do not accept asylum seekers. Does that even validate us to be part of like the United Nations at this point? That is illegal by international law to not accept asylum seekers. So here we are a year in, and there don't appear to be plans to do anything to reverse that from the Biden administration. Instead, actually, people in the administration have been iced out. There was a New Yorker piece a few weeks ago about a young woman trying to make change inside the administration, was tapped to do so, and had been vilified because she was Latina, saying, "Oh yeah, you're just into this issue too much because you're Latina, you're a child of immigrants." So let's remember the political failure here, and to say nothing of a time of essential workers, a time of supposedly valuing all that's been done in the pandemic, and then not doing anything for a pathway to citizenship, not doing anything in terms of supporting labor rights. So anyway, I love it. I want to see more of it, and everyone definitely use the hashtag try and not buy anything. Try and understand like where it is that all of these goods, all the things, all the people selling roses on the street, like all of that that economy that goes unrecognized.
Exactly. Yeah, and there's a very good chance that you might have protests happening in your city. At least 15 cities are doing this. It's happening outside of the White House as well. I mean, these things are happening right now, so you might have to run, but that's the actual organized protest. You can also take part in other ways as well. Let's see. Carlos went on to say, this is a movement that arose from essentially the frustration of thousands, possibly millions of immigrants in the country who are tired of the lies, tired of the false promises, and nothing being done on the topic of immigration. I was someone who really used my platform in 2020 to support Joe Biden. All 2021 happened and nothing happened. We waited patiently and no progress was made. Everything remained the same. So look, it is possible that if Biden were to actually try to make a big deal out of this, it would just end up being killed in the same way that everything else has. But he can at least do that. He can try as hard as he can, and I haven't really seen it. Not even to the sort of light extent that I've seen some advocacy for like a voting bill and those sorts of things. But anyway, I want to give you some numbers. Immigrant-led families in the US possessed about $1.3 trillion in spending power back in 2019. They paid about 331, I believe that's a million, or that might be billion in federal taxes and 162 billion, oh yes, billion, in state and local taxes. So that's a huge amount of money. And undocumented families paid about 19 billion in federal taxes and nearly 12 billion in state and local taxes back in 2019. So remember that when you hear lies about taxation and social services and all that for the undocumented.
For more political news, breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.